What's up, Ramblers? Your favorite CEO is back. And before we begin today's podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode. And follow Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms to stay up to date on the latest content, updates, and more. And remember, if you need a virtual assistant, visit us at offsource.tech. Now, before we begin, a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Ramblings. I have with us again, Renee Requena. She is an absolutely amazing financial advisor, financial coach, guru, whatever you want to label on it. Introduce yourself today, Renee. How are you doing? What is going on?
Hey, Angelo, I'm good. I'm Renee Requena. I'm out of New York, but servicing the entire country. And like you said, I'm a financial coach. I was here before and still helping families reach that financial independence and freedom level that they want.
We absolutely love it. And she's doing an amazing job at it. Like, people are like, she is a natural magnet to people of that kind who are looking to just better themselves. So I don't know how she does it. Maybe she can share her secret. Like, how do you attract people?
Authenticity. I think that's the basic building block of trust. It's just me. I'm an open book. I share what I know, and people gravitate towards that because I don't hold any secrets. Get the real me.
That's actually something we use. Transparency, I think, is a very big thing nowadays. Like where especially within, I think, the finance industry, I don't think a lot of people have trust. Like, at least the consumers, I don't think they have like the most amount of trust in like financial advisors or in people within that do insurance. And so I think that it can be kind of muddled. But what I really want to focus in on is like, why? What is your why? In terms of authenticity, if you will, what is your why on why you do what you do?
Well, it started with, I didn't think that I knew enough about finances, personal finances, and I didn't think that I was in the position that I should be in or wanted to be in. So I figured I'd better learn some more. And when I realized that I needed to learn more and all that I did learn, I said, why keep this a secret? So it's all about getting my family and my family name and the next generation to come in my family to a better place. I feel like every generation should do something as a sacrifice to level up and make sure that the next generation can take the ball and run further. So I'm spending the time doing that now. I'm showing other people how to do that so that we can all do that individually for our families. That's my why.
That's a little different now. Like, when people you normally learn something, they get some kind of information or they receive something beneficial, they usually keep it to themselves. I don't want to say humans have a selfish nature, but I definitely think that it's less giving than possibly you are. Do you know any reason on why you might be so ready to share or give?
I think I always have thought of myself as an abundant thinker. So scarcity is where you think that it's going to run out. There's not enough for everybody and you need to hoard it and keep it to yourself. But honestly, I feel like God in the universe will always give you more if you give more. So I'm always looking to receive more. So in abundance, more comes back to me. So I don't need to hoard this or keep any of this to myself. And, when I used to work in industry and corporate finance, I always felt like things were held back from people. And that's why they weren't able to achieve the level of success financially that they deserved. So I don't want to be part of that game anymore. I'd rather just share what I know, and that'll put me further ahead in the game. You know what? It's paying it forward, and it's the law of giver's gain.
I don't know the law of giver's gain.
You keep giving and you'll get more.
Is that literally it? That's the law. The more you give, the more you get.
That's it.
I guess I'll have to try that. So I guess that makes you like the ultimate giver for that then at this particular point. So, but you said something that I think I would like to touch on about having the mindset of abundance, right? And I think that within our particular community, especially with, as African Americans and things of that nature and minorities, it can be very hard to develop or even, curate that abundance mind of thinking. What do you recommend for someone who doesn't think like that? And how did you get into that kind of thinking? Were you always an abundant thinker? What did it come from your parents? Was there like a life-changing moment?
I think probably it came from my dad. My mom is not an abundant thinker. She thinks from a place of scarcity. My dad was always a giver.
Under the bus.
Yeah. Very opposite. And a lot of times in a marriage, in a family, opposites attract. So one is a spender, the other's a saver. One is abundant thinker, and the other thinks from scarcity. So, that's what keeps nature in balance. But I think that my father was always very free and open with money and information, and he was very friendly and outgoing, and everybody gravitated towards him. My mom was a lot more reserved, kept things to herself, and didn't necessarily share information and money. So I realized that my dad was always happy. My mom was not. So the only thing that I could attribute it to was he was happy that life was giving him everything that he wanted. And it was because he was giving back. So I think I just chose my path and thinking, who's happier every day? And he smiled and she didn't. So I kind of moved along the path of, oh, I guess if I give more, I'll get more, or it at least will make me happy. So my life is driven and circling around happiness these days.
Wow. Okay, so I don't know if I've ever really talked about this on the podcast before. Now I'm going to get into some personal stuff. That is exactly the dynamic of my parents, but absolutely flipped. My dad, he's like, at least with us, he's very knowledgeable. Like he will share with anybody willing to listen to talk. However, he's a very reserved person. He's not, I'd go as far as that he's unhappy almost. I don't want to throw him under the buses, but he doesn't listen to this. My mom listens to this. But yeah, he's very reserved, hugs the cash register from a mindset of scarcity, from a mindset of like, if you don't get it, somebody else does, essentially. And my mom is really more of like a happy kind of go person. Like she doesn't make as much at all, but she's much happier. She gives a lot more. She actually works with employees. My dad has been solo and by himself his entire life. My mom is more free spending. She's financially stable, but she's a lot more free spending than my dad. She actually just rented out an RV and everything. But I definitely have that exact same dynamic where it was like, my dad's not happy, my mom is happy. Well, there's something that I should be taking from the happy people, but there's also things that we can take from the unhappy people.
Yeah.
And so I really do agree with like the opposites attract and there being like that balance. And I think that that balance really comes out in like us, like how we are and everything like that. But that's an amazing observation. I really was like, oh, there might be something in there, possibly. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything.
But you hit on it. You realize that there's something different between them. And in order to figure out what's causing the difference or what's different about them, it can always be narrowed down to, on the surface, who looks happy.
Wow.
And it's not only about money. It's about, do you feel that your life is fulfilled?
Do you? I'm not putting you on the spot or anything, but like in aiming for happiness, how would you say your stride has gone?
Oh, I think I'm very happy. I think I'm even happier now that I've left the corporate world of that rigid structure, because that's just not me. It's never has been. So I was in a box for many, many years. So now that I'm not in the box, I think that alone makes me happy. But the fact that I'm able to kind of have more control of everything about my life, that's what's really driving the happiness. So happiness doesn't have anything to do with money. You can have all the money in the world and be extremely unhappy. I mean, we see it in celebrities, especially comedians, right? They're very happy and they seem they're happy on the surface and they have a lot of money, but inside they're not happy. So happiness comes from internal things. You have to feel as though you're being fulfilled, you have a purpose, and that, you're driving towards that every day. But I believe a lot of things about your belief system does start with your parents. I mentioned that on the last call, but your beliefs can be unwound if they're not working for you. If it didn't work for the last person, or maybe it did, but it doesn't work for you, change them. There's nothing that says that you have to keep the same belief system your entire life. If you find something that's working in your favor and it's not detrimental to you or someone else, go ahead and move along a different path. Get on that track to happiness and change the belief system. And I change belief systems around money every day.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing as a coach. So it really comes down to, is what you're doing with your habits and your lifestyle going to achieve the financial success that you want to have? And again, it's not millions of dollars, but do you feel more comfortable because maybe you have an emergency fund that you could dip into, or maybe take a vacation when you wanted to, that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to if you had bad habits? So that belief system of, maybe my parents told me that I should just buy, and don't worry about it. I'm still working and I have a paycheck, and you live in debt. That belief system may not work for you. So you may need to change that.
I definitely do agree with that. Oh my gosh, such knowledge. But speaking of, they said they could talk to you about it and everything. What, as a financial coach, do you do? Because we have the understanding of like, okay, we need to change mindset, we need to put things in place. But in the actual action of like what you do, and when people say, oh, thank you so much, you changed our lives, you really you really helped me with a lot of things. Where does Renee fit into that? Like when people are telling you thank you for what you've done, what are they thanking you for, really?
Helping them achieve their dreams. I start with dream selling all the way at the beginning. So it's never about, hey, let me just see what I can sell you. I don't sell anything, I don't own anything, and I'm also not quoted. So I have no obligation to push anything on anybody. My goal is to figure out what your goals are financially, what your dreams are for your life and your family, and work backwards to where you are now. So that could mean I go through your budget, I help you create and understand what's coming in, what's going out. But it could mean I might have to look at some of your insurance policies. Maybe you don't even understand what's going on, or maybe something is not working the way that you need to. I'll help you with that. I might help you save. I might help you get out of debt. I could do a lot of things, but ultimately, I want to help you build some wealth for your family and help you retire. A lot of people don't think that they can retire. That's very, very sad for me to think that you work your entire life and nothing has been accomplished in order for you to stop working. That's a very sad thought, to think that you're going to have to go somewhere every day and punch a clock and take your last breath, and you never get a moment to relax. And I don't want to see that happen to people. It's happening, but if there's something that I can show them or do for them, I would rather spend my time doing that, and then I get paid for it in a different way. But why not help the next person? Why see someone suffer? That's suffering in my eyes, that somebody's never able to retire.
I agree with that. I think you chose the right word too, suffering. So a lot of people consider having like a financial advisor or someone to talk to about finances, or even really kind of even the thought of thinking about finances. All of those things are like for rich people, essentially, is what I hear a lot of people thinking. What do people need when they come to you? Is that like, who are the people that come to you?
People come to me who are worried about money. I see people on all spectrums. Some have money, some don't. Some are in a comfortable position. Some are not. They're not making their bills. But a lot of them will say, I'm not sure what I signed up for. And they need that understanding, and they don't know where to go and who to ask. And if they've asked the question, they haven't received an answer that's good enough to satisfy them. So it could be in life insurance. It could be in their 401k at work. It could be in some investment. Who knows? But whatever it is that they signed up for, they don't understand it, or they don't know how to make it work for them, or they want to know what it's going to do for them in the future. So those are the things that I can explain to them. And then I'll tell them how the industry works, how it's supposed to work. And this is what you have. Here's what else is going on. You're able to choose and move to that if you want to. Or if they can't, I'll explain to them why. But at least when they leave me, they have a better understanding of what's going on. But it's all along the lines of, a lot of people will come to me and say, I would like to do this in life. I would like to buy a house. I would like to move to another country. I would like to send my children to college. I would like to do anything, whatever it is. I have to figure out and work backwards where they are now and help them achieve that. Put them on a timeline and a plan. And a lot of times, I'll say 90% of the times, they buy into it. They actually want to do it. If somebody would just hold their hand and
Mhm.
give them some guidance, they're more than happy to sit along with the plan and go along with it, because they know at the end of the day, it was what they wanted. All of that they're doing is achieving their plan and their goal. So it's not my goal, it's their goal.
Okay, I think that's an important part right there. That is their goal, because no one else is going to be motivated by like somebody else's goal. And so that you focusing on it being their goal, I think is what really allows for them to feel at least that accomplishment. Because at the end, even if when you do accomplish something, it's like, oh, this is what I wanted to accomplish, not what was set upon me to accomplish, kind of thing, which I
Right.
think really can change the dynamics of the mindset for the people. So I want to get into something like kind of technical. Let's say I was, a worker, landscaping. We're going to use like a job. No, I'm not going to even I'm going to take my dad. We're going to but less money, right? We're going to say you make $50,000 a year and you're doing real estate, right? So you might have like a couple of houses, but you are solo. You are doing everything yourself. You're running around, which means you're probably, we'll say you're 55. I think that's a decent age. He's like 57, but we'll say 55, right? And you are running around like lifting up heavy items because you have to move out like a basement, you have to move or paint, you have to rake leaves, trash, sewage removal. You're doing everything that a house would have to have done to it if you were the owner of it by yourself. So whatever upkeep a house takes, you have to do that times like 5. What is the move for someone like that, especially someone that hugs the cash register? They don't like to spend a lot. They don't really like to give a lot, because the first rule of fundraising is you never give away funds. What would be like a recommendation? What is your recommendation for someone who only makes like 50,000? They do kind of some laborious intensive work, if you will, and they're trying to like leave something for their kids, or they just want to like they know that they may have to work the rest of their life, but they want to at least try to leave something for their kids or their spouse, or have a glimpse of retirement. What would you recommend putting in place, basically generically, without having to get too in detail? What would you want to put in place for someone like that?
I want to know, the first question really is, what do you want your life to look like? What should it feel like? And I want them to paint that picture for me, what the grass smells like, what the sky looks like, where they're living, what their day-to-day activities are. So I can get an understanding of how much it's going to cost them to actually do that. And then I'll figure out what the timeline is. And possibly there might be some savings that they've had from a prior job, maybe. There might be something that we can do with that with certain investments. Over time, they will grow and they can provide you with some income. But then also there's life insurance. If they're looking to leave a legacy, life insurance is the great wealth builder. You're getting from day one, whatever policy you're coming into, a death benefit from day one. It's not like it has to accumulate over time and it grows. That day, if you were to pass away, the life insurance money is there, and that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars to leave as a legacy. But if you're just thinking about retiring in such a short time period, you may not have a lot of time to accumulate assets, but you can do something with the money that you do have. So every situation is different. There's nothing that's, I can say, works across the board for everybody. It's customizable, and it has to fit within your lifestyle and your budget. And sometimes people don't have a spending problem, they have a savings problem, or they need more income. So if you're able-bodied and there's an opportunity for you to maybe within a couple of years generate some additional income, that could be put into an investment possibly that could spin off some additional money for you that's passive, or not passive for you, but at least it generates an income stream.
Do you do any coaching on like maybe making a career change for people who don't make enough money?
Absolutely. These days, if people didn't realize during COVID and the quarantine, everyone needs a multiple streams of income. And I can't say that any more explicitly, because think about the people who were left at home when their employer said, I don't know when I can bring you back, if I can bring you back. And you just sat there and thankfully you may have been able to get unemployment with that extra little sweetener on it. But imagine if that hadn't been there, or this quarantine had lasted 3-4 years, what would you do?
Oh my
So
God.
you need, right. You need to be able to, and I can't even say that some people are out of the woods, because we're sort of still in it. And the
Yes.
they wouldn't be giving you stimulus and the extended unemployment benefits if we were completely out of the woods. So, people have to realize that while you're at home and you have this flexibility, you need to learn another skill. You must. If it makes t-shirts with a Cricut machine, and I've seen the Cricut in the store, and I don't get paid for talking about Cricut, but whatever it is, if you need a car washing business, if you want to transfer to a different industry, there are many people who came into financial services during the quarantine period just because it's an industry that will allow you to learn as you go along with proper guidance and training. A lot of people did come into the industry and they've done very, very well over the last 2 years. But definitely everybody needs another source of income these days and going forward. I tell everybody, it doesn't matter what age they are, they need to be thinking about another source of income as a protection factor, because your job is not secure. Even if you're a business owner, I look at dentists and medical practitioners, some of them who weren't able to open their offices during quarantine. So even you as a business owner can be out of work for a while.
That I think is a very hard hitting point, because everyone thinks that as soon as you go into business, like that's protection. That's protection. That's all right. It's all fine. Boeing needed a bailout. Not Boeing. I think it was American Airlines, but there were like the airline companies, billions of dollars within months. Like they didn't last as long as some of the small businesses that, as that may have multiple streams of income, we're prepared for, which absolutely almost baffles and blows my mind in terms of like how are you, like that's clear indication of bad CEO-ness. But that's a topic I can't get out. I can rave about. There was a question that I have. It was brought up when I was talking with a different financial advisor, and it was about going back into the office. He, being a financial advisor, says that because he in his particular thing is he just bought a book of business. So I'm not going to mention the company name or anything like that. But what happened was he's been in financial services for a while and everything, and now he purchased like a book of office, like a book of business and office and everything like that. And so he bought, like the team came with it, the book of business, the entire 9 yards. But they're going to be going back into the office. And he purchased it in 2019. So it was like right before the pandemic. And then like, it was like November. And so then leading into the pandemic, it was like, okay. And then they moved in. So now they're starting to go back to the office and everything. And I'm like, how have you been working before? Like they've been working remotely. They had oddly enough, they set up a Skype, which is weird. Who uses Skype anymore? But they had a Skype and they just left it open all day. And then someone would hop in and the people would like basically all jump in and work on camera with people looking directly at them and everything like that. And so I guess my question to you is, what is your thought on going virtual or, going back to the office, if you will, as a financial advisor, with a team and everything like that, having an actual you guys actually do have an office. So like, what is your preference? What do you think the future is? What do you think financial advisors should be doing that, might be listening to this? What are your thoughts on the going back to the office versus going virtual?
So our company went hybrid the minute that COVID happened. I believe it was around March 15th of 2020, overnight when everything shut down. So we're in New York. Remember, we were the hardest hit very early on. Like day one, it was here in full blast. So shut down everything, everyone in the house, nobody go to the grocery store, nobody go anywhere. So quickly, Zoom kicked in. And Zoom stepped up as a company to help everybody. The schools weren't even prepared, right? Google had to step in to help the schools. But us workers, we were able to continue doing business. So it was like my appointments for the next day. Hey, we're not going to meet in the office. I'm not going to your house. We're going to do this on Zoom. I'm going to teach you how to use Zoom. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. And I'll tell you that our company grew 25%. Like that example that you said, where they kept Skype open all day. My Zoom account was open all day and I had appointments back to back. My clients would log in, one would leave, and I would let the other one in. And thankfully, Zoom had a waiting room. So just like a doctor's office, I could see my clients in the waiting room for their scheduled appointment. They would come in, I would close up with the previous one, let them out, and then the next one would come in. And then I would just rotate around the clock like that. It worked great for me. But I think going forward, regulators, when you're a financial advisor, you must have a physical office for your records. So we will always have physical.
Oh, that's a thing. You actually have to have a physical office?
Must be stored in a physical office. So we must have offices, but also, you know, we don't necessarily always want to work out of home. I'm ready to be back in a location somewhere regularly, you know, but I do have that flexibility where I can still work from home. I just happen to be in the home today, not going to the office, but I was in the office last night. We need to be able to function and do both, everything and nothing all at the same time. I think that the environment of being able to do business quickly, I grew my team. I actually grew my team outside of New York over the last year. And I was able to bring people in and train them, but then also do client appointments in states that I never would have reached. So it actually worked for me. I believe that the new guard of the way that you can handle financial services is going to be the hybrid model. Mm-hmm. It's safe enough. And we also are able to have the clients feel comfortable and that they are at home and that they don't need to travel and we don't need to risk their health, you know, meeting in person. You don't have to worry about vaccinations. You don't have to worry about masks. I think this is going to be the norm going forward.
Wow. Okay. I like that take then. Okay. So I'm gonna take his take. His take is that when you have your team and everything like that, you have to have your eyes on them. You have to make sure that they're pounding the pavement, making their 80 calls a day. You got to make sure that, you know, you're listening to their calls and everything like that. Very micromanaging and everything like that. What is your style for how you work with your team? Like, are you like, do you agree with when it comes to insurance agents or financial advisors or anything like that, you got to keep your eyes on them. You got to see and hear and smell them and like look over their shoulder. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, we do need to, when we're bringing new people in, we do need to be able to oversee them and train them, but that doesn't mean that you have to stand next to them to do that. So if you have a proper training program, you're bringing in and scrutinizing and vetting people before you bring them in. So we're a licensed regulated industry, both sides, investments and insurance. There's a background check for everyone who comes into the industry. And you can't be licensed without the state running the background check on you. And if you're an advisor, FINRA and the SEC run a background check on you. And in certain states, my background has gone through the Department of Justice and the FBI. In order for me to get licensed in Florida and California have high scrutiny. So I've been fingerprinted and for each state it's different. So we're under very high scrutiny. So we're very careful about who we bring in. One, we have identified training programs. We also have programs to help people get licensed. The state regulates the number of hours that they need to have, but in us training them, we are training them hand in hand. So we're not sending them off and saying, go figure this out. Absolutely not. Compliance and regulations. And remember what we're dealing with, somebody's livelihood, their family, and their children. We have to be very careful about how we train our agents and associates because we want them to do the best. Especially in New York, we have extra scrutiny by the states around clients' best interests. There's a lot of documentation that has to be done for that. We always are working in the client's best interests and suitability. So we have to make sure that our agents completely understand that because we're in the backyard of Wall Street. You know, Wall Street has its own scrutiny. So we have to be very, very, very careful about what we do, what we say, and how we train our people, and then also overseeing them to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So yes, micromanaging, but you know, I don't need to stand in front of you to do that. And I need to build that culture and that trust so that you feel as though I'm trying to help you become a better individual so that you will feel comfortable asking me what you need to know and not doing anything that might jeopardize your own license and your career, as well as our brokerage.
I love that right there. Thank you so much for coming on. I think you have dropped a lot of great knowledge that people can actively use, like right now. Like they're gonna like hear this, and be like, oh, let's go do this right now. So but before we sign off and everything, I want to get an amazing plug-in, right? So give us where we can follow you at, where we can find you at, where we can get your team at. What is all of the contact that we can find around you?
So I try to keep the same name to keep it simple on all the platforms. So Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are all Renee Requena. So if you Googled me, you'd be able to find that Renee Requena shows up. Yeah, I have a Calendly. It's Calendly/Renee Requena. Again, very simple. And it's spelled Renee, Renee, Requena, Requuena. Very simple to book time with me. And also reach me on any of those platforms. You can hit me in the DMs inside of those, post on my screen. I'll see a message from you. Please don't post any personal information or anything that's personally identifiable, because I can't answer it. But I also don't want you exposing anything that could jeopardize you. But those are the ways to find me. And, I'm always available to set up time to speak and to speak to groups as well.
I did want to get this in. Speaking in terms of actually going virtual, right? You work with us in terms of being a virtual assistant. We absolutely love you as a client. What made you choose to work with a virtual assistant?
Honestly, there's only so many hours in a day, and you need to be able to leverage. And if you don't have your own staff to do certain things, virtual assistants are great to step in to be that person who's helping you. They're working for you in your business on the things that you need done, the way that you need them done, but they don't necessarily have to sit next to you. So it makes it efficient for you guys to do what you need to do separately, but get your things done during the day. So I'm happy that companies like you exist. And also I'm working with you because I like you. So these days we work with people we like more so than, other people we don't necessarily know. So I like and trust you, which is why I work with you. So that was the main reason.
We absolutely love it. Oh, and you are a runner of a couple of Master Networks groups. I know that you run the Brooklyn chapter, Boogie Down Bronx.
Boogie Down Bronx. So yes, I'm a president of the Bronx chapter, and we're not in the Bronx. We do have business people from the Bronx, and they're from Lower Westchester. I am in Long Island, but my team and the rest of the members can come from anywhere. So we're happy to have people pop in. We are Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. You'll find us on Eventbrite, Master Networks, the Boogie Down Bronx chapter. We also have a Facebook page in the Bronx, but we're happy to have everybody come by because, Wednesday is a slump day, but not in our meeting. You come to our meeting to get fired up to make it through the rest of your weekend. So pop by at 8 a.m. Eastern. We're happy to have you. And we have seats available in our membership team.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. So you heard that, guys? Make sure you get on down Wednesday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. We don't do Pacific. I feel so weird trying to pronounce that word sometimes. But yeah, Eastern time, 8 o'clock, Wednesday, come down, Boogie Down Bronx. I'm there. Renee's there. We are networking. We are talking, masterminding, sharing answers to questions that we all probably have. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Angelo.
Hey, Ramblers, that's it. Podcast is over. Don't leave yet, though. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, and follow us on YouTube at OffSource HQ. We'll see you next time.